Hello, Denimheads, and welcome to the 26th Hangout with the Sons of Selvedge, a podcast where a group of friends get together to talk about denim and related interests. This episode will cover the following. We'll do some current interests. We'll do a discussion topic on brick and mortar or retail customer service, and we'll do a bit of Q&A. Also, please subscribe to us wherever you enjoy your content, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, or Stitcher. Check us out on Instagram at Sons of Selvedge Podcast, although if you're here, you probably already found us through Instagram, because I don't think anyone else would be here. And lastly, give us a shout out if you have any questions or if you'd like to join our Discord server. And let's do a quick round of introductions and what we're wearing, starting with Andy.
Hi, I'm Andy. Sorry, it's been quite a while, hasn't it? Sorry, I'm full of cold.
Who are you?
So. I'm Andy. Hello. How are you? Let's get this mic nice and close to me so we get some ASMR. Yeah, sorry, I'm Andy. I've been away for a while because of various things, but what am I wearing? I'm wearing a Mr. Freedom hat, a Mers Henley, a 316 hoodie, and a pair of Onis. Straight leg.
You did dress up, damn.
Been slouching in a hoodie all day.
I feel severely underdressed.
That's because you're just in a dirty band t-shirt and your pants.
I'm not next.
David?
I just want to do the Andy reaction. Hey, this is David. I am currently wearing a RGT Western that I picked up a while back in a dead stock cone mill selvage, which is kind of nice. I forgot what they called it, but it's quite a cool red cast. I'm wearing my Freenote Wilkes 17-ounce black jeans, which are regularly probably my most common jeans to wear these days. And they've even got a zip fly, which is kind of exciting. And something I'm not wearing, but I would love to get some advice on, is I've got ketchup on my RGT ISC Indigo Selvage canvas shirt over the weekend, and try as much as I may, I can't get this effing ketchup off the shirt. So if anyone's got any kind of clues on how to deal with that, that would be awesome. And so that's what I'm wearing and not wearing. Over to you, Ilya.
I've got Hatters Anonymous Indigo watch cap on top. I've got a Pharaoh's cardigan. Also a Mertzby Henley. Some Black Horse Lane jeans. Japanese linen cotton blend. Yeah, and that's it. How about you, Ricky?
Hello. How's it going? I'm wearing Hatters Anonymous watch cap as well. Indigo Farah flannel, and currently United Overalls jeans. And that's it.
Snap.
Tom is wearing a boner right now. That was said.
Never been so wrecked, yeah.
Are we going to talk about that?
What, erections?
No, about my jeans.
Yeah. What are you going to say about them?
They're nice. They're really nice. They're nice and comfy.
Yeah.
How many ounces again, Tom? 12?
14. Close to 14, yeah, like 13.
14.
So, yeah.
They feel lighter than that.
Yeah.
They feel like a summer pant.
Yeah. They're like a nice weight, like not too heavy. It's good. It still like kind of feels like traditional jeans.
They're very flowy.
Yeah. They've got nice.
I think that's the adjective. Yep.
I did almost have a heart attack though when you were like, yeah, I hot washed it and put it in the tumble dryer. I was like,
I did the same thing. And guess what? It didn't shrink as much as we thought it would. So I can still tuck it in a little bit if I need to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
on the
not
waist. So.
surprised when you're like, oh, they've only like shrunk by this much. Then you're like,
Yeah.
but I was like, what?
So for anyone who's looking for advice out there and on how to shrink their jeans, go down my route, which is just hot soak them for something like 30 to 45 minutes. After you have a proper soak, bring them out, stick them in the dryer, tumble dry them inside out. But when you put them in, make sure to fold them nice, as the same way you would see them on a shelf at a store. Just put them in the dryer and dry them there, and bring them out. They'll still be a little bit damp. Put them on, and you're good to go.
Get out.
Is this
Get out
what-
right
Yeah,
now. You are
yeah.
banned.
And any complaints, please direct it to Ricardo.
Yeah. Personal email is.
We are gonna catch so much heat from that. Just
Well,
like
no,
the
it's
jeans.
just,
I love it. I love it all. I love it all.
All the 2 people who are gonna do it are gonna complain.
No, man, just
Like
so
all this-
case in point, right? Case in point, I'm always like checking out what's happening on market, right? And I saw this Pure Blue Japan jacket pop up a couple days ago, and I'm like, ooh, it's a size 4. That's my size, and it's like a really nice denim. And I was like getting all chuffed about it, and then I looked at it more closely, and I was like, fucking A, man, this jacket's got very subtle marbling all over it from someone putting it in the tumble dryer. And it's inevitable, no matter how delicate you are, that if you get anything slightly wrong, your lovely denim piece basically turns into like a marble statue, or like a background from some hipster's avocado toast photo. So I just can't endorse the tumble dryer any way, shape, or fashion with Indigo.
Interestingly, that happened to my Indigo Fairer Type 1, and that has never seen a tumble dryer.
It can just happen
Yeah.
from washing machines too. It's
Yeah,
not just
but I
spin
don't do
cycle.
spins. Never do spin cycles. Always avoid spin cycles. For some
I've
reason,
done-
that thing just the gunpowder selvage just properly lost it.
Has yours fading a bit, Ricky?
No. So I've washed. I've done the same. Sorry, didn't wash them. I soaked both these and the Black Horse Lane ones. I did exactly the same thing. Big soak for about 30 to 45 minutes. Really hot water, and then after that, as I don't have really means to dry it in this flat, I put it in the tumble dryer. Leave it there for a good like 15 to 20 minutes. Bring them out. They're damp. Put them on. They're fine. I think the trick there is, as I'm putting them in the tumble dryer, I'm folding them so they're not all over the place. And as they dry kind of like as more like a one, piece as it's,
Yeah.
folded. So yeah. And yeah, no whatever David was talking about, marble.
Marbling,
stuff. No marbling, no nothing. No.
I feel like if Ricky was like the Oppenheimer of nuclear bomb engineering, things could have gone really bad really quickly.
Hey, I'm 2 for 2, man. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's really good.
You're gonna become like the Rose Anvil of gene care.
Yeah.
Oh, no, man. They're just
I got
jeans,
one
man.
of those.
They're just jeans.
Yeah. Yeah, to be honest, the
They're just
softest and like
jeans.
best looking pair of like really like worn in jeans I've ever seen were a pair from the Full Count owner. Mickey Hatton.
Tsujitsu, is that right?
Yeah. And I was like, oh my god, like what did he like, how did he wear them? Like blah blah blah, like, was he wearing them every day? They're just like, nah, wash machine, tumble dryer. Like the people that you'd expect to like be like well anal about it are the least anal about it, and they were fucking incredible. So yeah.
I do remember Kia from Selvedge always like from day one was like, wash your jeans, wash your jeans, wash your jeans, and like was very anti not washing your jeans. Same with the Giles. It's like wash your jeans, wash your jeans. So that part I can kind of get if you turn off the spin cycle. But yeah, dryers are like a whole nother level of scary for me.
But I'm wearing. I'm also
Oh yeah, off to you, Tom. Sorry, I forgot.
a pair of United Overalls ED2 jeans from this really. I think maybe it was mentioned on a really early episode of the podcast, but a really small brand. Okay, I'll stop with that joke. And then I've got a Mum's Jeans t-shirt,
Nice.
which is quite thematic. So
Is that a band?
That's all I'm wearing. Yeah, a band called Mum Jeans, which they took that joke from Bob's Burgers. So there you go. Good band, saw them in Camden. I'll save that. I'll save that for our interests. But
David, tell us about your ketchup stain.
Yes.
About what?
Your ketchup stain.
That looks like
Oh, yeah. I just I got some ketchup on my ISC shirt over the weekend at the pub, and
What have you tried?
I've tried dish soap. I've tried just water. I've tried hand soap. I'm kind of like almost to like either just gonna have to machine wash it or maybe buy one of those kind of like spray, like stain removers or whatever. But I'm not really sure like what reacts well or badly with indigo.
wash,
Seriously, machine wash it.
warm water, and bleach. No, I'm joking.
Just on that little spot.
Yeah.
No one will ever notice.
Just
Scrub it.
Oh yeah.
I-
bleach.
Yeah, I would put
Maximum
some fairy
agitation.
liquid on it. Some fairy liquid on it.
Yeah.
Fold it. Put it in the tumble dryer.
Tumble dryer.
The tumble dry fixes everything.
Put it in the freezer. Leave it there for 3 years, and then bring it out and then just scrape it off.
Yeah.
Kill the bacteria too.
Give it a wash, mate.
Although if you put a little bit of this is mom's advice. If you always put a little bit of fairy liquid on it, detergent of sorts, it helps like break down the chemicals of
Yeah,
the
I'd
ketchup.
say
Lifts the fats, doesn't it?
maybe
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
liquid if you've got like an old toothbrush or some kind of scrubbing brush, just to kind of like work it into the fabric,
Mhm.
leave it for a little bit, and then try wash that out.
Yep.
That may get kind of the bits that have sunk in. So that's probably what is left that you're seeing.
For our American listeners, Fairy Liquid's the British version of Dawn dish soap.
Hello to our one American listener.
That's me.
Makes up 50% of our listener base.
We've got entire cohorts of American listeners.
Oh, that's good to hear. Good to hear.
Oh, my nose has got a bit bigger. Shit.
Oh, I was about to say, are they just here to take the piss out of our accents?
No.
And like they're wondering what we're talking about half the time.
Are they all in Austin?
Probably so. I guess on that note, Andy, do you want to kick off current interests?
Oh fuck. It's been so long, hasn't it? There's been so much, and yet so little that I want to talk about because it's all to do with my toddler and dealing with his constant tantrums at the moment because he's just turned 3, and overnight he went from being this delightful but challenging child to being the spawn of Satan. So yeah, that's been fun.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I got a pair of TCBs, didn't I?
Ooh.
Yeah, I finally went for an even wider leg than my Onis, which are a straight leg. Yeah, so I went for the TCB 50s, not the Slims, the 50s themselves. So they're based on like the kind of early to mid 1950s Levi's 501, and they're comfy.
I'd say they'd probably be in like my top 5 jeans like ever made.
Yeah.
They're just throwing that
Super
down.
comfy, and I got
They
them
look
from
really good.
yeah,
Not made by me, obviously.
I got them from Okayama as well, so they were a bit cheaper, and they're always good at getting stuff across pretty quick. At the same time, I also got a good on thermal in, I think it's a Zaki dye, so it's like it looks like almost like a garment dyed red, so that should fade quite nicely. And then what I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we'll talk about. I mean, there is something, but I don't know if Tom or David want to talk about that. I'm just watching Ilya's face tighten.
You mean our day trip?
Our little trip, yes.
Is this when Ilya and I leave the chat?
Yeah.
This is when the podcast.
Ilya
gets,
was with us, man. Didn't you see the photos?
Yeah.
It's there.
I should post that on our Instagram as proof.
Deep fake.
You have a lot to explain now for anyone who's listening.
We
Like,
need to get
Yeah.
we need to get a deep fake of Ilya at one of the tables
Yeah.
throwing dice,
Table.
preferably with his arse crack hanging out like most of the other people who are there.
Yeah.
We need to hear the actual origins of where that photo came from.
Good. Very good, David. Very good. You're a bit on fire tonight, aren't you?
I always am in the
So-
evenings.
9 o'clock's that sweet spot.
It's because when we record in the morning, I like basically wake up like 10 minutes before we record, so just enough time to make a coffee.
Andy getting a pair of wide jeans is a big win for the wide boy.
It is the
Amazing.
White Boys team has
Yeah,
expanded.
the wide. Yeah.
But I already had a pair of straight legs anyway. My
No,
own
you did.
knees. Yeah.
You did. But it's
Yeah.
But a looser
looser.
cut.
Yeah.
I've also just picked up a pair of Buzz Rickson original spec chino shorts as well, which will make Jake absolutely sick because he hates shorts so much. But yeah, they're kind of knee length. There it is. The background. It's real. It happened.
Second
Tell
time.
us more.
Yeah, I ordered the wrong size and they were massive, and then I went and I got the right size and now they fit. And we always knew Ilya was hiding in the closet when it came to little plastic soldiers, or as my son calls them, daddy's robots.
Yeah.
He wasn't hiding in the closet. He was hiding in the tank.
Just do it.
He's even got his coordinated color outfit.
What size did you get in the shorts in the end?
34. So I went true to size. So Son of a Stag, which is where I got them from, said size up. Their measurements said size up, and I got them, and they were loose around the waist. And my missus looked at them and went, "You look like you're going on a safari to hunt lions." So I took them in, and I got a more fitted pair that cup the cheeks,
Oh.
which is all important.
Very nice.
But yeah, they fit really well. I can't wait to use them on me Ollibobs.
Ooh.
Woo. That's me. All right, there's nothing really else I can remember anymore. Everything's a blur.
Yeah, so I guess for me, the best current interest would be that we've just wrapped up the Stitch Down Patina Thunderdome and the Indigo Invitational. I participated in both, and I've got some contest insights.
I beg your pardon. I've got some cons.
No.
Bit early in the day for that kind
No, I was about to say.
of offensive language.
I didn't
I was
know
mixing,
what into that.
So I completed the Stitch Down Patina Thunderdome and the Indigo Invitational. The prior, I think, was like a 6-month contest, and the latter, I think, was maybe a 1-year contest, if I remember correctly. Either that or 8 months, I forgot which. But for the Patina Thunderdome, I wore some Oak Street Bootmakers, their trench boot, which is like their, kind of, I think it's whatever the Munson last, trench boot from World War II is. That's their interpretation, in like a black kind of rough out bison leather. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, the boots have a nice patina and they look pretty cool. And I've actually had a really interesting conversation today on their Discord channel about like different people who faded the same leather, and like some of their shoes look different, some of them look the same, and even doing like comparisons between like different black rough out leathers of like other shoe brands and tanneries. I thought like that alone was a win, because the Patina Thunderdome, like almost everyone is either wearing a light tan leather or like, Natty Chrome Exel, Natty Essex leather, Merriam horsehide, whatever. It's like basically like kind of light colored leathers that are like guaranteed to get beat up and look dirty over time, or T-core, where like you're pretty much guaranteed to kind of like wear off the finish off the face of the leather. So I felt like I'd achieved something by having a dialogue around rough out black leather, which is like the most unlikely thing to ever patina. And then, yep, yeah, that Voltron picture is pretty accurate. And then the other thing that I'll say is the PBJs I wore for the Indigo Invitational. That was pretty cool. It was like an 18-ounce pair, blue weft, super slubby and neppy. But ultimately, what I guess I'll say is fading contests are fun. I think you can actually have a pretty good time, even if you're like not dedicated to wearing that one garment every day, knowing you're not going to win. Like it's still a fun experience to kind of see where you get to. But I definitely learned that like I'm just not a one only person. Like I can't just wear one pair of boots for 6 months. I can't wear one pair of jeans for 8 months, even if that's the spirit. Like life's too short, and I've got like stuff in my collection I want to wear. So I guess kind of my takeaway was contest was fun, be kind of cool to win something, but I'm definitely like not sold on the just wear one thing. Over to you, Elliot.
Yeah, I think it really restricts you, and obviously you have to be really disciplined to do something like that. Having done that with the TCBs, I was happy to be part of that competition, but yeah, it's not. I don't think it's something if I'd ever enter again, it would be because the gene that was part of the competition would have been like really, something that was really interesting. But yeah, it's interesting insights from you. Current interests. Been doing a little bit of traveling, but last few days that's been quite a lot of fun. And on my travels to Brighton, I picked up a second-hand Ria McCoy's Sawtooth denim shirt from Selvedge and Sawdust Co. From the guys there. Just happened to be in my size. Tried it on, and it was just too good to not take home with me. I think previously Ricky might have tried that shirt on, or might have been looking at. Might have been looking at it. It was the same one
on display.
It wasn't the same one, yeah.
Oh, cool, cool. I didn't try it on. No.
Okay, you didn't try it on.
You size.
You just asked to have a look at it. I think.
Yeah. It was like the blue on that one was.
Yeah, so it had already. Yeah, it's already got some wear on it. Yeah, I just thought it'd be a nice addition. I like the diamond snapback, the buttons on it as well, which was quite nice. And today I popped into the new Bryceland's shop on Chiltern Street, and I got myself a foul weather anorak in a bright orange. Which is something a little bit different for me. I've had anoraks before. I did a bit of a test for the Dart Boys with the Expedition smock in a yellow, which was quite fun at the time. But I had to give that back. So yeah, I thought it'd be nice to actually get myself something. And yeah, it kind of ticks the boxes of something a little bit heritage inspired. Has kind of a 60s kind of fabric, but with World War II kind of aesthetics with a drawstring collar and hemline. So yeah, I'm looking forward to using that in the rainy days ahead.
Definitely sounds good. I do like a drawstring anorak.
Yeah. So yeah. How about you, Ricky?
Not much going on, to be honest. Just a lot of work. Current interests. To be honest, just the pair of United overalls that I spoke about earlier. Putting some work into these. They look really nice so far. Same with E14s, right? Is that right? Yeah, E14s.
Yeah. How do you think the
Black
fit
Horseman.
compares? How do you think the fit compares between the two?
Well, the E14s have, so these are the Black Horse Lane ones, are a bit.
Choose your words wisely.
Sorry.
Choose your words wisely.
They're
I shall.
absolutely shit.
Oh shit! I hate them.
Fucking
No.
worst jeans I've ever had. I'd rather go back to stretchy ones from Primark.
No, I to be honest, they're quite different, as in, well, weight wise, the Black Horse Lanes are much heavier. So comfort wise, I would say the ones I have on now, Tom's jeans, are a bit comfier because they're also a little bit
I was asking
lighter.
about the cut. How do you think the cut differs?
Oh, cut. Tom's are a bit straighter down the leg. Yeah,
Tom
the
is anything but
E14s.
that.
Yeah, Tom's a bit straighter down the leg, pretty much. On the seat, they're very similar, although I feel because the weight on the fabric there's a considerable there's a difference there. It feels different from like anything you do. Like if you're sitting down, if you're stretching, whatever, you feel something a bit, just tugging a bit more on the waist on one than the other, but that's normal because it's the weight of the fabric.
I think that's the signature Tom Burke reach around that comes with every pair.
Oh, you mean tug on the waist?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in every pair.
Like how like to have like the lady jump out of the cake at a wedding. It's like
Yeah.
Tom jumps out of your jeans and
you just hear a. Yes. But yeah,
But
glad you like them.
Yeah, other than that, not much going on. I've been focusing a little bit on the music side, gathering a bit of ideas here and there, and putting them all together, and going down the rabbit hole of finding fun, new, interesting pedals to connect to the guitar and stuff. So,
dude,
yeah.
that was actually
It's
going to
a
be my
rabbit hole.
second round of current interest. So maybe I'll jump in now and skip myself later. I was actually going to talk about have you ever run across Old Blood Noise Endeavors?
Yeah.
Oh man, I just discovered them this week, and I'm like going down the rabbit hole of like their pedal design, the fact they've got like short films describing their different pedals.
For anyone who likes small devices that produce noise, for lack of a better term, those are the guys to go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like totally geeking out this week on them. I might get the Fault overdrive and distortion pedal.
They're great, man.
Yeah, so I started recording some tracks recently with my guitar, my one pedal, and GarageBand. I sent my one track to Andy, but I haven't sent it, I think, to Tom or Ricardo yet. But yeah, these pedals are pretty awesome.
But it's a slippery slope, man. Once you go down the pedal route, it's crazy. It's worse than Denim.
Well, I love how these guys, they've got like short films describing their pedals, like animated films, like comic book narratives that like the pedal was inspired by, or it's very kind of lo-fi, low budget, ziny kind of lowbrow pop art stuff inspired guitar pedal design, which I think is pretty cool.
At the end of the day, I just look at it. I'm looking at my pedal board right now, and I say like, these are just like toys for men. They're just toys, like these boxes all colorful and that produce these wacky noises all over the place. It's just toys, and you get hooked on it really, really quickly. And I remember promising myself, oh, this is the only thing I need. Like I just had one pedal, and then a month later I have 6.
Yeah, I was like, I've got fuzz and I've got reverb. I was like, okay, I don't need those, but I was like, oh, but that doesn't include distortion or overdrive, or so I'm just kind of like starting to realize, that it's a dangerous, slippery slope, and I have to try and not go down that slope.
Cool. Off to you, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I like occasionally pick up my guitar and stuff, but if I got back into my bass, it would just be a slippery slope of, you know, even another hobby that I'd get into. Like, I always had in my mind that I'd get a Sans amp, bass DI preamp, and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm not even going to start talking pedals because, yeah, I watch the occasional YouTube video and I'm like, ooh, this is nice. I'm like, no, don't need another hobby. Already got Denim and Little Plastic Men. So I love how like Warhammer's just like a no-go word for us. Ilya's got a gun pointing at his head that's triggered by the word Warhammer.
Well, we threatened before to like somehow involve Ilya and Warhammer, and I know we've done a couple like painting contests. At one point, we'll do one where it's like a dedicated painting contest for a miniature that looks like Ilya. Maybe we get like one resin printed or something.
I'm just going to give Dante a box of Space Marines for his birthday.
Oh,
Straight in. Or one of the overpriced plastic action figures they do.
oh, the big ones.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a Space Marine.
Yeah,
He's the hero of the Empire, but also a sociopathic child soldier, warrior monk. You don't need to know about that. He has big shiny armor and a sword.
Oh, we can't hear you, Ilya. You're muted.
Yeah, Ilya's gone mute. Ilya's that angry. He's blown out the
I was just saying that the car boot's coming up, so yeah. If you want to donate any toys to be sold on that weekend, yeah, you're more than welcome.
Unfortunately, I think I'll have to miss this one.
Ilya just takes it and then just drops it.
And Dante could like sell half my
Grinds
apartment
everything.
probably.
I was gonna say, Dante has the best salesman skills ever.
Any unwanted
he sold me
goods.
3 toys.
Yeah.
He sold me 3 toys and somehow he got one of them back.
Oh, I love it.
I'm like a Snoopy, like a small Snoopy toy, and I really liked it. I was like, yeah, that's cool. And then somehow he ended up having it back.
Interesting, man.
He's got Star Wars Lego characters this time, so
Nice.
Oh, mate.
watch out.
Apart from that, not much else going on. Interest. I've been watching The Night Agent on Netflix. That's quite good. A spy drama thing. Feels like one of those series that, like, if they'd made it into a movie, it would have been shit. But because it's actually got enough space to breathe in a series, you know, it can actually, you know, develop the plot a little bit. So that's, you know, fairly enjoyable. Mandalorian's been good. It's kind of slowed down a little bit. I haven't seen the latest one, but it slowed down. The start of the series was really good, and then it's lots of filler, lots and lots.
Is this still Star Wars you're talking about?
Yeah.
I loved how season 1 was basically like a proper like Western.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. Sort of.
Western samurai trope.
Original. Season 1 was a Western. Season 2 went into like men on a mission style tropes. I haven't seen season 3 yet. I've kind of dropped off a lot of in fact, any season of any kind of show at the moment. I've just not really had the opportunity.
I also did that, and then I turned 13.
Then I discovered ladies, and then I didn't need to watch things like that because I was so grown up and tough.
And I drank
In all fairness,
I became a football
I've never even
hooligan.
seen any of them. I've never seen any of them. For those who know,
I only watched political dramas.
hang on, I'm a Trekkie.
Oh, okay. What? How is that any better than Star Wars?
So much better.
Is it though?
It's
They all wear
so much
lycra.
better.
Name
It's
at
so
least
much
3
They wear nicely
Star
cut
Trek
suits.
films.
Quite enjoyed that film. That was like the Star Trek one, but they were.
But it wasn't Star Trek. It was Star Wars instead.
No, it's like the Hollywood actors who are kind of doing a Star Trek show, and they get like zapped into like a real space battle. And
Oh,
they think
Galaxy
it's all.
Quest.
Yes, that was a fun movie. I enjoyed that one.
So David enjoys the Star Trek that wasn't Star Trek.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ricard.
No. I mean, I give up.
I do. I appreciate it. Right. I remember always watching it with my dad. He would just always watch reruns of Picard, whichever series that was.
My childhood
BBC
was
2, 6
filmed
p.m.
with my childhood was filmed with real quality content, either acted out by Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sylvester Stallone, Dolph Lundgren, or Steven Seagal. That was my
I
childhood.
mean, that is pretty much the holy trifecta plus Steven
You forgot
Seagal.
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
yeah. But like Bloodsport, that was it.
Oh, I fucking watched that for the first time the other
It's
week.
so good.
It's so funny. Such a ridiculous film. It's great at the same time. Like you just couldn't make a film. I was about to say you couldn't make a film that bad these days, but there are plenty of
Oh,
films.
you can. You can so easily.
Like the latest Star Wars trilogy. But they have a bigger budget, so it's okay. It's still not okay.
Andor is the effing jam, though. If anyone hasn't watched it yet, it's like one of the best
I
TV
need
shows
to
ever
watch
made.
that.
Fucking rocks.
I've heard really good stuff.
Oh my god, it's like the best sci-fi show probably, well, since The Expanse, which isn't saying much. They're not very far apart in time, but it's like it's up there, top 3 material.
Yeah, because I think Rogue One is like the best Star Wars film that's since the original trilogy. Because it just like worked the tropes so well. Yeah, like familiar character archetypes, but with like interesting new spins, like the blind Jedi priest, like not Jedi guy. He was really cool. Star Trek characters, big fight battle scenes, lasers, everything, but not done in a shit way. Like the latest Star Wars.
Do I sense a teeny bit of butt hurt in there,
Put your
Tom?
toys away.
I just thought they were just terrible films that just there was no consistency.
What? Even Mark Hamill glugging on giant animal blue titty milk,
But that's the highlight.
and
of
the
film.
weird little fish fish nuns on the same island, and the whole thing is amazing.
Oh, yeah, but that's the
Were any
highlight.
were any of these characters wearing denim?
No denim Star Wars.
You don't know.
No
I don't know what
boots?
space denim's like, mate.
Space denim.
Space denim,
Oh.
very loose weaves.
Yeah.
Shiny.
Well,
Basically, they're all wearing Naked and Famous, like
Yeah.
the madder stuff. Everything scratch and sniff.
The Selvedge line is like made with stardust.
No way, man. They're wearing those Naked and Famous Matrix jeans that were like coated in like black
Oh, God.
vinyl or some shit.
The QR code that took you to a really dodgy part of the dark web.
Yeah.
I did used to want those glow in the dark Naked and Famous jeans they did some years ago. Oh, I'm not gonna lie.
Of course you did, neon freak.
Yeah.
Man, if I could have like grown up like
Full on cyber goth.
yeah, I could have like grown up on like glow in the dark radioactive food coloring or some shit. And
Do you have a place called Cyberdog in?
I was about to say that, man.
I thought it was
about to
awesome.
say-
I would never dress like a kind of techno raver, but I like it in principle.
But
Especially the
But-
basement floor.
I feel like if we check some of like the tags inside your t-shirt, so just a little Cyberdog label. In your most glowy apparel.
Do
Should we
I have
topic?
additional current interests they want to cover, or should we get right into discussion topic? I'm aware of time.
Oh, fuck.
Go.
Probably not. Trying to think. No one wants to hear me talk about kettlebells anymore. I think I killed that last time when I was on last. So
Still going well then.
just about, yeah.
I'm on to barbells now.
Oh, I went back to Bob. I went back to see how my strength was going, and I've pretty much in 10 months lost no strength whatsoever, which was pretty good. So that's quite nice.
I did a wadded CrossFit class the other day that was like deadlifts followed by handstand push-ups, which I can't technically do. I'm not strong enough. And then shoulder to overhead presses. And it was like 12 minutes. Every minute on the minute, EMOM like 6, 7, 5 or some shit like that. I thought I was gonna puke at the end of it. I couldn't even finish it, but it was fun. I think I prefer just doing kettlebells at home. I can kind of like do it at my own pace, take a nice tea break, and
I've realised I prefer a grind over ballistics. So just taking my time and putting the effort in. So like, yeah, more traditional weightlifting is what I prefer, and I seem to get more out of. Rather
keep
than
trucking.
yeah, I'd rather be the fat dude in the singlet lifting the barbell rather than the uber ripped dudes in headbands throwing balls against walls and stuff like that.
I fucking hate wall balls.
Wall balls suck absolute testicle.
It's basically like being teabagged over and over.
Oh, yeah, it is a thruster with extra misery thrown on top.
What Jim says? What?
Crotch fit.
Yeah.
My language.
All right, so should we do this discussion topic?
Yeah. I was going to say the only actually a little bit is I've got heavily into DayZ since I last was on here. Which DayZ? So DayZ.
Oh, I thought
DayZ.
I thought
Not
that was something called Daisy.
DayZ, yeah. Yes, my wife has changed it.
Last night. Yes, DayZ.
The online survival game. I found a short appeared in my YouTube feed out of the blue, and the guy who did it was hilarious. And I started watching him, and then I was like, it's only 20 quid, and I've got in it, and I've gone down a rabbit hole. It's a very addictive and very fun game. So if you want it, I'd highly recommend it. It's like 20 quid on Steam. If you want to give up any social life.
I've allotted myself one rabbit hole, and that's when Zelda comes out next month. Tears of the Kingdom, man. It's going to be big shit.
Yeah.
Just because you play
Because what?
I'm out.
Ricky's just
I
one.
have nothing to say.
I love how we're like testing boundaries as a group of friends here. So we found Ilya's boundary, and that's Warhammer. We found Ricky's boundary, which is video games.
You have not found my boundary, mate.
Well, I think so, mate.
All of it.
Boundary's been a fucking nerd.
No, immediately I thought when you said Zelda, I immediately looked at Ilya and it was pandemic.
No, I like computer games. Just yeah.
The cool ones.
The fact he calls it a computer game. Console, man. It's a console game. Andy plays computer games. DayZ's computer game, right? You're on mute.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Video game.
Oh.
Oh, we lost.
Still
Andy.
on mute.
I lost you.
You do a hardware mute, maybe?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Maybe I should play some Lana Del Rey video game song while we wait.
That's what happens when you talk about Warhammer too much.
Playing video games.
Is it your pee break time, David?
No, I was just making that joke because Andy was talking
right,
about video games.
I thought you actually needed one.
No. I actually don't.
I'm really holding this for talking about video games.
On our way back from Warhammer World, Andy told us about DayZ. So Tom and I are up to date.
We couldn't get out the car.
We're up to speed.
Yeah.
Right, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yay!
Wait, yeah, I had a little sign saying there's an error with something going on with my headset. I don't know. Yes.
All right. So today's discussion topic is about the quality and approach to customer service and retail or brick and mortar environments. So a little bit about kind of what issues we find today with the quality of the customer service, and maybe a bit of advice on how all of the shops that listen to our podcast might be able to improve.
Yeah, they'll be fighting, to scrolling through all those shops that listen to us. I guess.
Oh, dude, we're gonna monetize this shit, man.
Yeah. We want to be sponsored. We want free stuff.
Dante's our business development.
Yeah.
If you want to listen to the next part of this episode, you need to sign up to our Patreon at £9,999 a month. We will send you a sticker after 3 months.
Yeah. And a picture of Tom's feet.
And an NFT.
Yeah, that is the NFT, David. It's Tom's feet.
Yeah.
Nearly worth almost as much as one of Donald Trump's NFTs.
Limited quantity of 2.
So Tom,
Yeah.
since this is your topic, your suggested topic, why don't you kick things off? What bothers you about
It is my suggested topic.
retail
Plus
experiences?
you worked in retail, so.
Yeah, you
Yes.
did.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Scum.
And in my popular opinions, I was probably, one of the best retail workers out there. Just
Award winning.
yeah. Retail Award 2019.
The shop till it's surprise.
I'm quite an empathetic person, so I would never pressure people when I walk into a shop or when people walked into my shop I worked in, which I felt was always quite important because I always wanted people to feel relaxed, feel like they're at home, because that's the best way to squeeze as much money out of them as possible. No, I always put myself in their shoes. Like, would I feel like someone walking up to me and being like, "Hey, do you want to buy that?" Or, "Oh, do you want to try size?" They're the things that really annoy me. So I kind of suggested this and wondered what your guys' thoughts were. If you've any particularly awful retail experiences, any stories without mentioning any shops. Don't know who's got any horrific stories.
I've got a few. I think it's a good point to call out that we don't want to call any shops because that's not our prerogative to highlight who's done good or bad. But there's a few times where and I mentioned this before on the podcast, I think, where I've went into a shop to go buy something and I'm kind of between two sizes, and the shop advice was often to size down because denim's going to stretch, it's going to give, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe I'm just getting old, but I'm almost kind of the go for the one side, the smaller of the two, to me feels like generally bad advice. Like if you think about shoes, right? If you're ever between sizes, size up because your feet are going to swell, the shoe's going to break in and mold to you, but still size up, don't size down. And I'm surprised that in a denim context, they often say, take the smaller of the two because it'll stretch. And it's like, well, I'm not so sure, because if it's a bit on the tighter side to begin with, number one, you're not going to wear it. And so you're probably never going to get your 30 wears in it, whatever it takes to actually get the stretch out or stretch out to the size you want. And then number two, if it's unsanforized, shrink to fit, chances are when you wash it, you're even increasing the risk that it won't work because you went for the smaller of the two sizes, alongside the fact that, as we get older or as we get closer to Thanksgiving and Christmas, inevitably folks put weight on, and you're probably at some point in your life going to have this really nice garment that you invested in become a bit too tight because you changed in some way. So I feel like there should be a general advice of you should probably size up. Oh, one more thing I'll add to that too. Obviously, I keep a close eye on the Reddit Raw Denim channel. I don't really post much, but I'm always on there. And my God, the sheer number of fit pics where someone looks like if they fart that the button's gonna fly off their jeans through my screen and put my eye out because their clothing's so tight. And they're like, "Yo, check this fit pic," and it's like, dude, don't fart. Whatever you do, you're in trouble if you do. And I think it's just this kind of weird thing in denim of buying stuff that's too small.
I think a lot of that advice comes from people who want to fade their jeans, and there was a period of time when the best way to get faded jeans was to wear them super slim, buy your APCs 2 sizes down to get the best fades possible. And there was probably a few models of jeans which their waist bands did stretch out more than others. I think like nudies, APCs, those guys would buy them super slim, break them in, they would stretch out, but it would be like a very super uncomfortable experience for a lot of people. And I think it's just with time, people have kind of gone away from that. But yeah, I think I've had that in shops where people have said, this is the size for you, it will give, and not, kind of giving some cues of things to try, like, go sit down, go have a walk around, see how comfortable you are with it, and just trying to make that sale. I think a lot of the times that's definitely one of the negatives I think that I've found. Probably when I first started out looking for jeans, I kind of now know what I'm looking for, so I don't necessarily ask too much from the assistant, whoever it is. But yeah, in the early days, I think that was one of the most difficult things that I came across. But it's something you have to kind of go through, unfortunately, sometimes, and experience for yourself, and to know that this kind of jean is just not for you. One of the biggest knowledge points for me was size for thighs, and that was before I kind of realized, okay, my thighs are just a little bit bigger than an average person's, so I need to make sure I've got a little bit extra room. Yeah, so I think to answer that point what David was raising, I don't know whether that's still the advice that people are getting these days.
Couple thoughts.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, a couple quick thoughts on that. So I think size for thighs also isn't the best advice, because you often see on the Reddit as well that like people will size for thighs, but they didn't factor in their like thigh to waist ratio, let's say.
No. When they say size for thighs, is like you look at your waist measurement, but also make sure the thighs are are the correct width. So you can't just go for if you're a size 35 waist and the thighs are on a 38 waist better, that doesn't mean you should go for those. No, it just means you need to go for a jean which has a straighter cut. That's what I mean for that.
Yeah, but it's definitely something I've seen where people are like, oh, if I wash these, is the waist going to come in? It's like, dude, you could put a lunchbox in that waistband, like you still got room.
Yeah.
But I think like when you're having that sales experience in a retail space, you've got to tailor all your responses to what the customer wants or is used to. Like I had people like come in and they're like clearly like a 32 at most, and they're just like, yeah, can I get these in a 36? And at first you're like, fuck, why? You're like, no, you're a 32. It's like, no, it's fine. I was a 36. And you're like, all right, if that's what you want, they'll go try it on. They're like, pulling like a belt on like the very last hole, and they're like, yeah, perfect. That's what they want. That's what they want. They're going to buy it. So, I'm not going to stand there and go, no, you're wrong. You actually need a 32, because if they're going to wear 36 5 days in a week, who am I to fucking judge? As long as that person walks out of that shop happy and is confident in what they bought. Obviously, if someone comes into a store and goes, I have no idea what I'm doing, I've never worn a pair of like, Selvedge jeans before, or, never worn shrink to fit jeans, then, you give a little bit more of the expertise, because that's not opinion based. That's, you're going to be like more factually leading the sales pitch. So you've always got to kind of tailor your approach to every person, which I think will make the difference between a good view of a shop as opposed to a bad one. Like, you know, going into some London shops, I said to myself I wouldn't mention any names.
There's a fair number within the smoky town.
Yeah, I'll leave it open.
That Uniqlo Selvage.
Yeah, that's, by default we'll just call them all Uniqlo.
Uniqlo East London or
Oh,
or Soho or Fitzrovia or
No.
Uniqlo or Uniova Clo.
Yeah. Oh fuck. But you know, I've heard like people like having the experience, especially like my friend Ben, where he's like, you know, gone into the store and said like, oh, you know, can I try like this particular jumper? And I wouldn't even say what brand, because then that will give it away as well. And they're like, yeah, you definitely need like a medium or something. Tries it on, it's just like up on his belly button, like it's just like no, I don't. So like to not even be able to like tailor the selling experience to someone who's clearly a different body shape to you. Look at Ben and go, you are tall and lanky, you're gonna need to like size up. So, you know, you need to like take your personal experience out of it, make it factual based, and tailor it to how the person looks and their style. If they're wearing skinny jeans, I ain't gonna sell them TCB 50s size up. There's no point, it's silly. While, you know, Ilya or Andy come in, thunder thighs, you know, I'm gonna pull out something with
Just
paper.
the baggiest sweatpants you can find. These are the only things that'll do for you, lads.
Two things that come to mind. One is I know we talked about it a bit last podcast, but Articles of Interest, the American Ivy series. I was listening to the episode today where they talk about the fact that like Brooks' brother basically invented ready to wear, and like before that it just didn't even exist. So I think that's really interesting podcast episode that folks should listen to understand like why we even have ready to wear clothes today and why you have like preset sizes and stuff. That's interesting. But what I wanted to more focus on was having worked on the retailer side, there were two things that always really irked me about the raw denim retail experience, and I'm kind of keen to get the view on it. 'Cause it's sort of like, this is the other side of the table, right? Where you're the retailer and the customer is doing stuff that annoys you, and like, is that okay? So number one is a customer's like, oh, I want to try these jeans on. You're like, yeah, okay, cool, go for it, customer. And they basically do like a 1 foot turn up or something, because obviously the jeans are like 36 and they're like a 30-inch inseam or something. That would be 6 inches turn up anyways. And they start walking all over the heel of the jeans because they're not turned up enough. And it's like, you as the retailer are kind of like, you're like rubbing the back of my jeans on the ground with your heel in your socks. And that always really frustrated me. And the other thing too is like, when some customers are almost like they know what they're doing to a degree, but then they basically start doing like air squats in the jeans to like double check how they fit. So you're like literally in the store and they're kind of like dropping down to the ground in air squats in your jeans that they haven't bought. And it's like, are either of those things okay? Like, should the retailer jump in? Should they have the customer not do that? Or is that like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, from my time selling jeans, I mean, I had a good enough eye to be able to tell how much I needed to turn up a jean before the person tried them on. So usually they'd walk out the fitting room with them close enough to the right size, unless it was like some weird Tellison 40-inch length, which we had a couple of those. But as they came out of the fitting room, I'd then go, okay, 2 secs. I'd get on the floor, turn them up properly. So I think that's all on you, David. I'm joking. And like with raw jeans, if you're doing like a couple of squats in them, the starch in them's probably given them some kind of amount of hold to them, so they're not gonna like completely bag out the arse by stretch them. Sometimes like you could tell like a couple of pairs had been like tried on a lot, because you'd get the creases at the back of the knee, whereas, you know, someone had been sitting down or squatting in them. But that would be like the very, very worst. Like, you know, 5 or 10 people have tried them on like that day. And most of the time you could probably give it a little bit of steam with like an iron that like isn't on hot setting, like just the seam, just to kind of like flatten it out. Or you'd put them in a stack of jeans, like halfway, and the rest of the jeans are going to like squash it down and put it back to normal. So yeah, it's not too bad. It's, I think the worst things, obviously, with people getting them hemmed and then they're like, no, it's all wrong, I don't like it. And it's like, well, you signed this form to say this is the length you want. Look, I've got it written there, and I've got the hem left. You're gonna have to buy another pair if you want another pair. That's been like the only annoying thing customers have done. Although I did have one lady in Levi's. This is my favorite story ever. I think I was really hungover, so I was like really not in the mood to like take any bullshit. She came in, I saw her with the Levi's bag, and I was like, oh, fucking, she's come to return something. She's like, my jeans are faulty. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, let me have a look. You know, gave her the benefit of the doubt. Was at that point willing to give good customer service. Oh, I broke something. And then like pulled out some black jeans. I had a look at them. I was like, these look all right. Like, where's like what? How are they faulty? She's like, there's all this white stuff on it. You know, I thought maybe the dye had like come off, or you know, there were like premature fading marks or something. I was like, I can't see any marks on them. She's like, yeah, it's all over. And I was like, do you mean the dust?
She didn't like bring out a black light and show you like white stains.
I was expecting mold.
No, she meant the dust. She could see the dust on her black jeans. And I was like, but they're black. She's like, well, it doesn't happen to any of my other jeans. I was like, because they're blue. I was like, no, this isn't faulty. No, I'm not going to return these.
Tell her like hermetically sealed house is faulty.
Yeah, like, do you want to live in a bubble? I can laminate them for you, flat. And I was just like, no, it's not going to happen. And she was like, well, can I speak to a manager? I'm like, well, I'm the manager today, so no. She left.
Actually, a lamination machine is probably not all that different from like a sanforization machine.
Yeah, apart from the plastic.
The plastic layer. Plastic sandwich.
Well, no, yeah, okay, stretched too far.
Ricky,
Andy,
what's been
any-
your
Oh,
Sorry.
what?
Cross purposes here. Go on.
What? No, Elaine has something to say.
Paul,
I was going to ask Andy whether he had any bad experiences.
Yes, I have a couple.
Go on.
I think the first one I ever had it wasn't even kind of to do with items in the store itself. I tried on a couple of items. I basically said, you know, I was umming and ahhing between a couple of different pairs from a couple of different brands, and I think I mentioned, you know, and I mentioned the brands to the guy at the store, and I knew they didn't have all the brands there. You know, one of the brands in particular was at another store, and I mentioned that brand. And instead of them going, oh, well, actually, no, well, we don't stock that one, but we've got this brand that kind of ticks it, they just went, we don't sell that. And that was literally like, are you for fucking real, you prick? Which I didn't say any of that because I don't do conflict, and I did want to get barred from the store. But like just the way it was said with that kind of like derision, you know, like it's not like I'm saying, I'm looking at a pair of Samurais, and I'm looking at a pair of Onis, but I'm also looking at a pair of £20 American Eagles. It was all kind of, I was still within like the same retails, and I was like clearly looking at similar fits and similar cuts and like weights and stuff. And yeah, it was just that fucking derision. That individual no longer is out of that store. They've moved on. Say again.
I know who that is.
Yes.
That's when you're like, well, why are you wearing them?
Yeah.
It's weird because each of the stores, I don't know if this is the same in like other countries or like other parts of the UK, but London becomes very like these little monocultures
They bounce as well. They just bounce between the stores.
within each store. Yeah. So there's people who will only go to like one store. This store
Yeah.
best brands, but oh no, but this person only shops at this store.
Mhm.
Oh, I follow all their brands on Instagram, and then like those particular shops will have particular shops they link up with, like in like the US,
Yeah.
and like other parts of the world. So there's like these weird, depending on which brands they stock, they all follow each other. It's it's
It's like West Side Story or something, right?
Sharks in the jet.
self gangs.
I think the other one I had was a very what is probably like seen as one of the biggest brands within the raw denim scene, and it's one of their flagship stores. And it was for my wife, then girlfriend, and we're like, we wanted to get her a pair. She was interested in trying to sell, but she's been totally burnt out by it because of poor experiences. And we saw a pair, and they were on the website. They had it was stretch selvage, because that's quite, for a lot of women, that's quite an important thing to have that stretch factor, and it is for a lot of other people, for a lot of men as well, and kind of and non-binary people, because it is something that we're so used to. A lot of people are so used to wearing. So we went there, and we'd seen the actual pair online, and we went in, and we're like, my partner would like to try on this pair in this size stretch selvage, and the person at the store went, "Oh no, you can't get stretch selvage." They're like, "What?" Like, it's your brand, and I've seen it online, and you fucking can get stretch selvage, because plenty of brands do stretch selvage. Outside of the kind of the hardcore heritage-y scene, it's available, and and it is easily available. I mean, again, it wasn't even worth pointing it out on, like, pulling up my phone, going, actually, it's there. Yeah, just like not even going, actually, I'll go and check. Like, because that's such a even if they know they think you're talking bollocks, it's an easy way to placate the customer, just going, "Oh yeah, just let me go and check," and they go, "No, sorry, we don't actually stock that anymore, or we don't have that in stock." Bang, done.
There's something interesting where, like, any effective shop that has like the default response of like, "Oh, I can order that for you." It's like that's good, because it's like, "Oh shit, maybe I will give you my money." And just like shops are like, "I can order that. I can order that. We can get that. We'll get that." Blah blah blah. Like, I think that's like such a useful approach.
Even just going, "Yeah, we'll take your contact details down, and we'll see back at our main warehouse if we have any available, and we'll see if we can get it in for you." And then they can just come back to you and go, "No, really sorry, it's out of stock, or we don't do it anymore."
Yeah.
Or they get it in. If they think you're talking bollocks, then they can come back to you later and go, "Sorry, we don't do it anymore," or it's not done. But it was just that kind of immediate cut off from staff that's shitty.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like, because we're in like an industry or a part of the retail that is higher end, and there's more of a need to educate the customer, it then makes people on the retail side think that they are 100% correct all the time.
Yeah.
So there's got like always this air of superiority that it's like, actually we're the ones educating the customer, and the customer isn't always right. Even though in a lot of cases they can be.
We are scientists.
Yeah, I always give people benefit of the doubt. It's like, "Oh, let me, have a look on the computer, or let me have a quick Google and see what it is you might have seen somewhere, or if it wasn't on the site, then let me see, if it was another brand, or it's always give people the benefit of the doubt." But
I'd like to maybe loop back to the sizing one briefly, because I just remember something that like irks the shit out of me that's happened a few times in a retail context, and that's like when you're buying unsanforized, you obviously have to kind of triangulate what's the jean going to be like right now when I'm trying it on the store, but what's it going to be like after it shrinks 8%, and then I eventually like stretch it back out again. And I think one thing that retail shops have almost like categorically gotten wrong with this every time I've bought unsanforized jeans was they don't remind you about the fact that you're going to lose 8% of the entire garment's length and width, which is basically like a whole size in the width. But what they fail to tell you is that the waistband will probably stretch back out. The hips will stretch back maybe 8% up to 8%. And the knee maybe like, let's say 4% or something, right? But generally speaking, the whole thigh is not going to stretch out again, nor is the calf, because the jean, those parts of the jean aren't articulating. And so they're kind of like, okay, try the one size smaller, and that'll give you a good feel for like what the jean will fit like once you wash it. But then they don't really kind of tell you that like, oh, but when you wear it, this part's going to stretch out, but this part's not. So you're going to be stuck with the skinnier fit here forever. And it's almost like, I'm not sure there is a good solution for how a company could actually explain all of this, except maybe just to only sell one wash shrink to fit jeans. That way they're already kind of shrunken down, because yeah, it just feels like the first couple times I bought shrink to fit, I got really surprised when it's like part of the jean stretched out and part of it never changed, and no one really told me that.
Someone should try and make like an AI generated thing where you could put in like a scan of someone, put in a model of jean and the fabric details, and then generate how the fit of the jean will change depending on how they move, how skinny it was from the beginning. That would be useful. I'm trademarking it now. Someone can teach me how to code.
See if I can ask an AI this question.
But yeah, no, I disagree. The thigh does stretch out because the knee pulls down the fabric across there, so that top bit of fabric across your thigh always stretches out. So, Ricky, how was my explanation of shrink to fit and my retail experience to you?
It was positive. It was alright. It was alright. There was a lot that you guys were talking about. Jumping all over the place. I've had weird experiences in some retailers, but at the end of the day, I would say that no. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah?
Mostly. You sound like you're in like a 70s science fiction film, but otherwise it's okay.
I don't know what's going on. Anyway.
That was better.
Yeah?
Cool. Yeah, I think maybe when you look down and like talk to your screen like this, it fixes the audio. I'm not kidding.
Hide your face as well.
It can be directional sometimes.
Right, so I don't even know where to start. I would say maybe if you're an assistant at a shop, I would say know your shit first and foremost, especially if you're working at more of a niche type of store where most of the customers who are coming in know that most of the times they know what they're getting, but for those who don't or are a bit on the fence whether to get one fit or another, or this garment or that garment, know your customer, know your garments, and be helpful, suggest, in the most helpful way possible. And I think it's very important, because I also worked for a while in retail, and I think it's really important for the assistant to kind of read the customer, which is not necessarily easy to do, but the more you practice, the better your social skills eventually will turn out to be, because sometimes people are just walking in not sure of what they want. They saw something that they like, they saw something that they have an idea of what they want, and sometimes you just go in with an idea. I need a jacket for spring, summer, whatever. And if the assistant doesn't know their shit and is going to sell them just whatever jacket just because it's more expensive, then you're doing a shitty job. Just go for it, as in talk to the customer, what do they want it for? Is it for a daily use? Is it for a specific occasion? If it's this or that. And always remember that most of the times you have an online shop going on as well. And if probably the customer has seen something online and he hasn't told you just because he forgot or something. And if you're kind of like dismissing the whole thing because you need to go on your break, on your coffee break or something, you're going to lose a potential customer right then and there. And I know sometimes customers do complain, like Tom gave us some examples, but I'm actually the opposite. I'm the kind of customer that if I'm sold something, I'm the kind of customer who will tell the manager, "Hey, your assistant sold the shit out of that jacket or that or those pair of jeans, man. So good on him for that." And I'll put in a good word for it. I've done it. I've done it several times.
Can you tell my manager, please?
No, it's even gone to a situation where the assistant was kind of worried when I called for the manager, right? And then I spoke to the manager kind of like in private, like, "Hey man, look, this person is really really good at knowing what they're talking about the jeans or what about this and that." Now I wasn't being a snob by any means, like showing that I knew anything about it, but it was more like I felt so welcomed and so like taken care of, because if you're splashing a couple $100 on a pair of jeans, at least have someone nice talk to you and spend the time and go through through every step of the way of knowing what you want them for. Yeah, just be them. And to agree with David here, I would always size up, always tell a customer size up, because at the end of the day, your best friend is a tailor, and you can always bring them in a little bit even after they shrink. If they're still a little bit on the wide side, you can always bring them in a bit. So it's not that big of a deal. I would say invest in a good investment is investing in a good tailor, someone you trust, who knows your measurements, who knows how to fit something on you. So for sure. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. What else was going on? David, you spoke about
What was your worst experience?
Yeah. Have you had any bad? What was your worst experience? That'd be
my worst experience was probably really wanting something, going to a shop, really wanting a specific thing that I knew.
going into the Levi's shop and trying on some other branded jeans.
No, man, those Star Wars jeans they
Yeah.
did.
I did.
Levi Star Wars, perfect for the Trekkie fan.
No, I've a weird experience that I've had was to be told not to bother with the garment that I went specifically to the store to buy or to try it on, because they told me immediately, "Oh, don't worry about that. That's not gonna fit you." And I was like, "What?" And they had all the sizes there, and they just flat out told me, "Oh, don't bother. That's not gonna fit you." And I was like, "Can I just try the smallest size?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, but it's not gonna fit you." And then I put it on and it fit me like a glove. And then I was like, "What's going on?" And yeah, there was a bit of a dismissiveness about the whole thing, and even other situations where I was asking for something and there was pretty much no eye contact. They were just looking at the screen, and their computer was saying something about, "Oh, we don't have it." Pretty much that, checking or double checking, or even in that situation, it would be so easy as in, "We don't have that, but we have something maybe that you would like here or here or here." I just find like an endless amount of situations, of like wasted situations where you could have simply sold me something else.
Could have been so you're clearly coming in to buy something because you wanted to try it on.
Yeah. Look at the least they should have done is gone, "Well, you can try it in the size that you want to try it on, but we think it still might not fit you. It might be too big. However, we do have these options as well that are very similar." It's such a simple thing.
Let me chuck
But
this
it
one
was,
in with you and
so
change room.
dismissive. Yeah. It was so
What's that, Tom?
One thing that dawned on me, I know when you online shop, people often are like, oh, grab your favorite shirt and take the measurements off of it before you buy this shirt, or like grab your favorite jeans, take the measurements before you buy our jeans, blah blah blah. I wonder if there's something around like a brick and mortar experience where like people just get advised to bring in your favorite of whatever. So when you're in the shop person has a frame of reference to kind of compare, I don't know, my favorite jeans, and they can like take a couple measurements and whatever and say, right, if you like that, we should give you these ones. Or
But usually you can eyeball it. Like,
Mhm.
you know, I think I got to a point, you know, when I was selling jeans, where I can look at someone and just be like, 32, and 90% of the time be pretty spot on. Obviously, depending, you know, on how different brand size. So, you know, if you're halfway any decent, you should be able to, in the first 10 seconds of someone walking into a shop, eyeball them up and down, know what size they are and fit, know from what they're wearing roughly what kind of style they like as well, and then give them the space to enjoy the shop. I mean, a lot of shops gave us the rule of, greet someone within 5 minutes. Greet them when they first come in, and then in the first 5 minutes you go up to them and ask what they want, which I always had an issue with, because some people like to spend, 10, 15 minutes looking around the shop. You'll leave them to it, say, hey, how's it going? Enjoy your day. Like, yeah, cool. And then they'll probably pick something up around and go, oh yeah, this is a medium, please. Made to sale with zero effort. And they'd probably walk away from that shop a happy customer, the perfect experience for them. But you should be able to eyeball someone as soon as they walk in, so that when they do come to you and say, oh, I was considering a jacket, or can I try on an Oxford button-down shirt? And if it's someone like Andy walking in, I'm not going to pick out a Pharaoh's shirt, because ain't getting in an extra large, because that size is whack.
I actually have a Pharaoh's chambray, and it fits perfectly. Might be an extra large. I'm not sure. It's like a 44.
On that topic, when I worked in jeans, I was never ever able to guess people's size right. Especially like trying to guess what cut is going to work for different people in different shapes. You're like, oh, you're totally a 36 in this cut. And it's like, nope, they're a 38 in a completely different cut. And like, you got the size wrong, you got the cut wrong. And I just was like categorically getting that shit wrong so often.
I had like 3 or 4 probably archetypes of like people's physiques. So the rugby players, or like Ilya and Andy, who would fit into that, the big thighs. And I'd have 4 or 5 go-to jeans at different price points that I could give to someone. I know I've got like enough sizes and stuff like that. I'd have the skinny guys, so like the me and the Davids, who are going to go for slimmer, taper, extreme taper, lower rise usually. At that time I wore slimmer fits, and I'd have again 5 or 6 brands that were like my go-to ones that I know are the best fitting ones out of those brands. Different price points. So I've got like Only Slim Fits. I've got like Edwin ED80s or ED55s as like my go-to, and I'd just be able to size them like that. I'd be like, okay, 55s, you need a 32. Only, I'm gonna be 32, but you might need a 33 because they will shrink. Because I'm wearing a pair of Onis, and you just got to like get those go-tos going. But obviously, if they pick something off the shelf, then you go, yeah, they're really nice, but they are samurai. They're going to be very, very wide on you, so it's going to maybe look a little bit different to what you're wearing. Try them on, let me know how they feel, and then we can go from there. Because if they come out the change room and they're like, I really like this, they're a lot wider than what I walked in, but I'm enjoying it, happy. And that's how it should be.
Tom, would you be able to tell the difference in size that I need to take if I've had a whole bag of potato chips versus not?
I'd say you're 37.5 now. Per leg. No, David, there's nothing of you. You could all day, you just get taller. Ilya, have you had a particularly bad experience anywhere, or particularly good? Anyone?
No, we haven't done good
good
ones yet. We've only focused on the negative.
Yeah, the worst one was, I think, again, when I first started going into shops, and just one particular shop was a very cold experience. Yeah, kind of getting daggers from staff, not being necessarily greeted. Yeah, and then yeah, just kind of made you feel like, you know, you're not really supposed to be there. That was probably my worst. I mean, in terms of best experiences, I think those happen over time where you get to know staff and you form some kind of relationship with them. And I've had that across most of the shops that, you know, that I've gone into in London. I've eventually kind of, you know, found someone who, you know, I've got kind of a common language with, and for me, that's quite important in going to these places, because it's more than just, you know, yeah, the clothes are great, but it's something a little bit more than that. So yeah, I've had plenty good experiences, I think, in most of the London shops, and I don't think even the ones that I've had that bad experience, I've gone back and formed good relationships with the staff there and the owners. So yeah, best experiences, yeah, it's just someone, you know, giving you a great service, or coming in. Like I always, you know, go with my family sometimes, and they'll take interest in either, you know, speaking to my son or to my wife and just making them feel welcome, and, you know, whether it's, you know, giving them some water or coffee, or, you know, things like that. And those things elevate that experience in that shop, and makes my time in there easier, because yeah, I can, you know, have that 10-minute or 20-minute window where I can, you know, go and have a look at what I'm after. So,
I feel like 10U Denim in Amsterdam always did that really well, where it's like they had like an espresso machine right there in the shop and would pour you a fresh coffee. They had like a little whiskey rack and they'd pour you a whiskey while you're hanging out, obviously to get you buttered up so that you buy some stuff. But yeah, that was always really cool, kind of having that kind of like VIP type experience in their shops. And it definitely resulted in me feeling quite confident to buy some stuff, because especially if you can like take your time, you can really think about like, does it look good? Does it fit right? Is it actually what I want? Is it, you know, not what I want, et cetera. And I thought that was always really cool. They did that well. But maybe one beef I'll add, which is not jean specific, but shoe shops that don't put you on the branding device to actually measure your foot, and or shoes that will measure your toe, or sorry, shoe stores that'll measure your toe to heel length on a branding device and not measure arch to heel length. Those are cardinal sins.
but Brannick devices are an American thing.
There is a UK Brannick technically.
No, there is, but it's not.
I think last time I tried one of those was like when I was like 12 and I was at Hush Puppies.
Yeah, I think if you go to Clark's or something like that, they'll bring a measuring device. But yeah, in terms of, I don't think there's like a standard UK device that if you go into like a Northampton, you know, shoemaker, that they'll, you know, the first thing they'll do is put you in a measuring device. I do think it's something that, you know, very valuable, as you know, as we've talked about it before. But yeah, it's not really common practice in the UK unless you're a child.
Well, that said, though, when I've gone to Trickers before, it's been years now, probably like 5-6 years since I went into one of their shops. But yeah, they kind of just like put your heel up on a 45-degree wooden slant, kind of massage your foot a bit, figure out what shoe size you want to wear, and put it on.
Where's this
And what's up?
Sorry.
Yeah, they like lick your foot while they're at it. And no, but if I they turn a trick or two. But yeah, if I had gone with their advice, I'm pretty sure I would have bought shoes that wouldn't fit. That would have been too small because my toe to heel length is so short. And I don't remember them specifically saying like, "Oh, let me look at your arch. Oh, your arch is bigger than I expected. I should buy you a bigger size shoe." So I don't know. I'm skeptical of that approach without it being a science-based approach, let's say.
I know
Yeah.
that if you go into some places, say in Savile Row, they do those things for shoes. So if you're in town to purchase a fancy pair of dress shoes, something like that, they will do that because even for anything custom made, they'll definitely do that. They do all the measurements, all bells and whistles, just to make sure they get the right thing because it's such an expensive and
Well, you would hope so for if you're paying for
yeah,
custom
exactly.
prices,
No, for sure.
Yeah, but if you
For
go
sure.
into other shops and you're spending, 200 to 400 quid, most of the shops are not going to ask to measure your foot. They will get you to try on shoes, and they will then try and gauge how it fits you. They will ask you, and then follow up with advice. But yeah, I don't think anyone's really. I know one of the stores that we've sort of that we've been talking about does have a branding device, but yeah, I don't think it's like going to start with a branding device and then tell you where to go in terms of shoe size.
See, I feel like if you're dropping, like the brands we like, right? It's like a pair of Vibergs, you're talking 700 pounds. Yeah, a pair of Lofgrens, you're talking 700 pounds. If you're getting into like Cordovan shoes, you're talking 1,000 pounds. Like I feel like shops that cater to our audience with these particular brands, I wonder if they have taken the time and energy to put the level of knowledge into their shoe salesmanship that they put into their jeans salesmanship. Because, I mean, your average pair of boots is at least 2 pairs of jeans. And yeah, I just can't think of any time in recent years where I've had like a legit shoe fitting experience. But I also don't normally buy my shoes firsthand. I usually buy them secondhand.
R.M. Williams, we done a proper fit, but just of length, width. So it would start with, okay, jump on the board. Let's see what you measure out as. Okay, that's our guide. We may need to go one down, one up, depending on your arch. We've got different insoles. But, they're a dedicated boot brand. So, if they weren't to invest in that initial experience, I don't think they'd get very far.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like denim oriented shops that happen to also carry high-end shoes.
It'd be interesting to go around and get them to try on boots and be like, yeah, I just wear Converse. So, see how they size you up.
Speaking of sizing and fitting, with regards, David, you were talking before about solutions for jeans to fit well and after the being sanforized and stuff like that. I was wondering because I know there's a couple of brands who do this. If it would be a better solution to put the tag that the jean will shrink down to, meaning that if you're a size 30, say 30 or 31, whatever, and you automatically know you have to size up because it will shrink to that size. So instead of buying a 32 or 33, right? How about buying the size 30 or 31, whatever your size is, and then knowing that when you put it on, it will be baggier, right? It will be wider, but it'll shrink down to a 31. Because I feel like the confusion most of the times is when people are buying, they're looking at the tag and the tag says a number that there's like I don't do this, like this is not my size, right? Because if you're buying a size let's say a size 32 on a pair of Levi's, a shrink to fit, right? And if they're raw denim, they're going to shrink at least down to 31, if not more, right? So wouldn't it make more sense to put the size tag of what it is after shrinkage?
Well, kind of. I mean, when you're in the tricky part is like the factory floor who ultimately makes the jeans needs to be able to correlate the size to the pattern. So they can like pick up a pile of the jeans and say, ah, these are all 32. Therefore, if I'm anywhere along the manufacturing process, I can go back and refer to the 32 pattern for whatever reason, right? And so when the jean's kind of done and dusted, it's got a 32 tag on it. Now that jean might shrink down to a 31 if it's unsanforized, or if it's a 32 sanforized, it might stretch out to like a 33. But like they have to also work from the pattern. What I think might be most helpful though is like if there's any notion of like post-processing after the jean's manufactured, if they kind of give you the range, this would be helpful in general, right? So like a sanforized jean, you could say 32 stretches to 33, or a 32 unsanforized says that like 32 shrinks down to 31. So you basically almost give like two sizes, a stretched out size and a shrunken size for any given jean, so someone knows like what range they're playing within. Because that also is something that like melts people's brains, where it's like, oh, if I'm buying shrink to fit, I normally need to take one size bigger because it's going to shrink down. And it's opposite to the way that like if I bought a sanforized version, it's going to stretch out almost a size. And almost having that range might be more helpful.
So is that rule of thumb, or does that happen with every single jean? Like
If I understand correctly,
san-
there is a
yeah.
pretty much a science to it, in that sanforized denim, generally speaking, will shrink 3%
you mean
beyond
sanforized or unsanforized? Sorry.
sanforized. So sanforized denim, the pre-shrinking process, generally speaking, will take out all shrinkage less 3%. So for example, if you buy a 36-inch sanforized jean and you wash it, it won't be 36 inches after you're done. It'll probably be more like 35. Like you'll lose about an inch, which is that 3% additional shrinkage. And the waist, generally it'll go in about 3% as well, though you may not notice it because that's so little. And on unsanforized denim, generally it's 8%, which on a 36-inch jean is roughly, I think that's like 2 inches in the length, about an inch in the width. So roughly speaking, one full size. So I mean, obviously every denim is gonna be a little bit different, but that general 8% rule of thumb, I believe you can kind of use that in most cases.
Yeah, yeah. The only issues with that is then you've got like loose weave unsanforized, which it isn't going to shrink as much. Like only barely shrink, and then they stretch out a lot as well. So you've always got to take like jeans a case by case basis. Talk to someone in the shop who's well.
Yeah, because a slubby pair of denim is going to shrink very differently, right?
Well,
Yeah.
slubby is just the inconsistency in the threads, right? It doesn't have anything to do with the weave. It's just the threads.
Isn't the weave a bit looser though?
Not necessarily. No,
Not
loose weave and
necessarily,
tight
no.
weave could be for a neppy thread, a slubby thread, or a plain old boring thread. That's about like how you use the loom. Slubbiness and neppiness is about the thread and how the thread changes over time or over its length. But one thing,
just differences in the yarn.
yeah, exactly. One thing that's also worth mentioning too is, oh yeah, I've often
this
heard.
This is why we have the podcast, folks.
Yeah. I've often heard people say that like, oh, jeans will stretch out beyond their unsanforized size. And at least me, I've never, ever seen that with not even one single pair of shrink to fit jeans or unsanforized jeans. I've never had a pair stretch beyond its initial size when I took it off the shelf.
Yeah.
But is that because people size down too much? And then it, with the force that you're wearing them, it starts to stretch.
Maybe, but I've just like,
Yeah.
I was told that like, oh yeah, these will stretch beyond their initial size. So if they're a bit snug right now, they'll get even bigger.
I've never
It's
had
like,
that. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never had that either. But that's my only kind of theory, that why they would stretch beyond, the initial.
Yeah, if you've got them tight to begin with, then there's a good chance that you could probably push it out, depending again on like the density of the weave, Because if it's super densely woven together to begin with, there's nowhere for any of those yarns to stretch to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would maybe if we had like Lex on the call for a bit of like industry expertise.
But I mean, science aside, like anyone who buys their jeans like 2 sizes too small, they're just gonna look ridiculous, and like no matter how much you break them in, the jeans aren't gonna look nice on you because you're basically buying like leotards made out of tent material.
Look like a badly stuffed sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
But then look at like fucking not John Wayne, 50s guy.
Marlon Brando, James Dean.
Yeah, James Dean, Marlon Brando. I mean, those guys had them snug around the arse.
Tom Jones in the 60s.
Yeah.
Big old moose knuckle.
I'm gonna JFGI this because I don't believe that.
Yeah, those guys were wearing toy, barely move. But they were straight cuts, so you didn't really notice them. But upper quarter.
I'm not sure I'm seeing that. I mean, they look fitted, but they don't look like Reddit fit check tight.
Just look at Tom Jones in the 60s and 70s, and that is
60s is a little bit different than the 50s.
Yeah, but that is a better example of a man wearing a pair of jeans that are a little bit too tight on him.
I think Tom is referring to the Wild One, right?
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, that's the classic, but he's definitely not wearing raw denim there.
Are you not thinking of? Is it Tom Finland? Is it Finland?
Tom of Finland.
Tom of Finland.
Those are tight.
All tight.
Yeah, I mean, they look fitted. But they don't look crazy. I don't know.
He has to be on the bike, man.
But those probably were raw though, because I don't really think they had many. They weren't really big into processing back then, were they?
No, would have been.
I'll tell you what.
There's a pair of well-worn.
My dad was born in 51, so he was finishing high school in 69, and he was like in the middle of the whole muscle car phase. So he had like Camaros, Mustangs, whatever, and used to drag race. And he told me that back then, him and his buddies would break in raw denim by basically just driving back and forth over them in their driveway with their cars.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
So he's like, oh yeah, we used to like take the Camaro and like that's how I break them in. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
There was a dude on Instagram who did that with his engineer boots because he liked a really narrow, like thin toe box. I'm sure it was you posted it to me earlier years ago. This dude would get engineer boots and he'd go with them in his big truck just to keep the toe box nice and
It was unstructured.
Fucking weird.
Twisted.
I'll tell you what, man, when you've got a pair of unstructured boots, there is something nice where you're kind of like massaging the toe box at the office to kind of like help that leather collapse that little bit faster.
Oh, you're so creepy.
Do you do this at your desk or in a private area?
No, I'll be like sitting in a conference room, like kind of cross-legged on a meeting, and I notice that I'm like massaging the unstructured toe of my boots to like help the leather flatten out faster.
Dave still hasn't worked out why he keeps getting called into HR.
Point.
Oh, that high quality phone image on the screen.
It's as good as it gets. Get used to it, mate.
Someone's done a Wild One oil painting, which looks pretty cool.
Yeah, this is off eBay actually. Someone's selling something on eBay with this. What is it?
Well, just to sense check, have we potentially exhausted this topic and maybe need to move on to some Q&A?
Yeah.
All right. So maybe to kick it off with the most serious question, our buddy Joe, also known as Work and War on Instagram, has asked, which of us smells the best?
Me.
I'm not even going to discuss
and
it.
I'm not going to lie, it's me.
Tom can answer for all of us. Go on, Tom. Say it.
It is usually between Andy and Ilya.
What?
You also smell good. You do also smell good. But I think I've probably gone in for the man hug more with Andrew. I was going to be Andrew just because I saw you.
Oh, you're not my mum.
Your customer service is shit, mate. Just so you know, if anyone is.
He's gonna write a
wondering,
really mean review about your
Yeah.
jeans on Trustpilot.
Trustpilot is
You
going
know,
down.
Ricky, last time when we went to Brewdog, I did say you smelled really nice that night. So
You
You're the last
always tell me that.
Oh.
You give me a hug and then you try to guess my perfume.
Okay, so Ricky,
Yes, it's me.
Ilya.
There's no
Sorry.
question.
Gotta get that Axe
No
body
splash,
spray.
my guys. I mean, that was definitely the toilet assistants to the clubs in the mid 2000s.
I've got
Might
it.
not be allowed to say that anymore.
I've got it on a sign on my desk.
I remember that
Yeah,
going
just
to UK
avoid
nightclubs
cheating.
where they'd have like the weird person in the bathroom that like gives you the peppermints and the cologne and wants you to
Yeah.
give them like $20.
Yeah.
That was weird.
It's
Anyways, Ilya, I think you've got a couple questions as well, right?
Yes, there
Got
were
one that's
some.
like a full-on essay.
It was a big one. That was from. Let's have a look. First question was from Shades of Indigo. What is the most underrated denim brand out there? I'll let Tom answer this question
no, because
because you already done this.
no,
Self-promotion.
I was thinking about this earlier.
Most underrated denim brand out there.
Orgal, I think, should get more cred.
I've got two actually to throw out there.
Go on. I'll keep thinking.
So one I'd throw out there is Charles Miller brand denim, CMB denim. I met Charles in Austin at some point. I believe he's from Chicago, but his denim brand, it's minority owned. He's African American. It's veteran owned. He's a U.S. Military veteran, and it's like fully owned within his family, and it's super cool. It's like really nice stuff, really basic kind of classic designs, but he's sort of basically it's a family business. So I think CMB denim is super cool, and I'd love to have him on the podcast at some point. He was a really nice dude. And the other one I'd throw out there as well is Ginyu, Ginew, which is a Native American owned denim brand. I don't remember the chap's name that owns it, but yeah, he's a Native American person and brings some of that really cool heritage of different Native American cultures into his garments, whether it's like, kind of patterns for wool lining or like some of the bandanas and stuff have some really cool kind of Native American art. And so I think those would be two underrated but super cool, unique brands.
Those are really good ones that you've mentioned there.
Yeah,
David.
definitely, mate.
I can say one brand that I've been curious to try out because their stuff looks really nice, which is Companion Denim of Barcelona, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I think it's a one shop, one person doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his stuff looks really nice.
I think I might have seen that he might have recently expanded to have more than one person with him.
Maybe. When I
Yeah.
found out about them, I was like, oh, these are they look really nice. And like craftsmanship, and he's I remember on the website at the time he had like really high resolution pictures. You can pretty much see the details on the things and stitch and stuff. So it looked really nice.
Is it all custom?
No, I don't think it's custom. I think he has like a line.
He does do buttons,
yeah.
So he does ready to wear and custom then.
A few different. Yeah. So he has a few designs. Yeah, a couple of different fits. I remember seeing that not too long ago.
Yeah, I would add JWJ brand if anyone's seen that. They do some nice kind of like triple pleat blouses and stuff like that. So very Americana, turn of the century workweary kind of stuff. Blue Blanket jeans, I don't think gets enough credit. They do some really nice stuff. Probably one of the bigger brands, to mention.
To clarify, was that previous one JWJ
Yeah.
brand, not to be confused with J brand?
No, JWJ. I think they're from Portugal or somewhere like that. Somewhere on the peninsula. Yeah, pretty nice. And I saw in all their product pictures they were wearing Iron Williams. So I was like, yeah, you go guys. Yeah, that's what I can think of off the top of my head.
Maybe I'll throw in as a bit of a curveball for a brand that does interesting fabrics you don't really see over here or in the US. Graph Zero from Japan.
Yeah, they do some cool looking stuff.
Yeah, so they do like
about them.
yeah, so they do like their big thing when they first appear was herringbone denim, which is very cool. Has very interesting, really cool fades, which was really interesting stuff to see. And they kind of do some interesting shirting and shorts and stuff. And I've got a pair of their Kakishibu straight legs that are kind of based on a 501 cut of some point, which are a really nice, easy to wear pair of jeans. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to see them get a bit of traction over here at some point, but I don't know which stores would want to kind of would be the best fit for, because they are maybe their cuts are more heritage, but their use of fabric certainly isn't.
By the way, I don't want to bust Tom's chops at all, but I googled JWJ jeans on Instagram, and I got
it's JWJ brand.
Okay, so I got like a feed of just like pure jeggings.
Yeah, not that.
Oh, yeah, that's
it's okay if that's what
that's
you're doing.
painful.
I mean,
Oh, spray on.
Jeggings for days.
There's another brand that I've seen floating around. When they started, they did mostly raw stuff. Was it AW jeans? It was started by an was he NFL or AFL player over in the States, and it was designed. His idea was to make a raw denim for like athletic builds and stuff like that. And I know on a couple of the groups on Facebook, he was offering up sample pairs for people to kind of be his test bed, to see how it worked. And it was quite an interesting thing, and the fact he was willing to provide product for free or at a heavily reduced price for people who were willing to give it a shot and kind of come back and give him feedback, provide guidance. I don't know if he's gone any further, but that was quite an interesting thing. Interesting looking brand that was coming out. I'll see if I can find them somewhere. Sure,
It's like Beast Mode jeans or something.
It was literally it was his initials. I'm sure it was AW brand.
Selvedge.
Yeah, something like that.
Roy Denim. ROID.
Well, yeah, I don't think
That's
Roy
all
is underrated.
No,
ROID. Roy Denim.
Roy Denim. I'd give my friend Diego a big shout out to MFG. I think he's on a traveling sabbatical at the moment, not releasing anything at the moment, but I think his garments, denim garments and other garments that he's done are some of the cleanest constructed that I've seen. I would say right up there with Oe Yufukutun, who are considered to be, one of the best in terms of sewing and stuff like that. Yeah, and just from a construction point of view, if you look inside the garments, they're really nicely made with, Japanese denim as well, and quite unique patterns which are not just your, your 5-pocket jean. So yeah, I think that, for a one-man brand to be doing the pattern cutting, the sewing, the sourcing, and everything else that goes into it, I think it's quite a great brand from that point of view.
I've been a big fan of Monty Base Co. for a while.
Yes. Yeah.
As well. One guy.
How do you say that?
Monty Base.
How do you spell it?
Absolutely butchering it. I'll put it in the chat, but MONSAVAIS.
Ah,
yeah,
right.
Montiasco or something.
Monsivais.
MONSIVAIS. Yeah.
He's LA based, isn't he?
Yeah. Usually makes hats. Speaks of hats.
Hats. He's just releasing a sort of jacket. He does jeans as well, vests and shirts. You have a shirt from him, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really nice.
That's
Yeah.
1930s kind of check fabric, made in like a half blanket 1930s style shirt. It's very nice.
One thing that I wouldn't say is underrated, but I thought was interesting and I just discovered was in the newest Avant magazine, they have like a one-pager on Barbanera, which is this like Italian dude who was obsessed with Western heritage and kind of cowboy culture, and he's done like Italian meets Wild West brand, and I only just discovered it from the magazine, but he's got like Wabash corduroy, like indigo dyed Wabash corduroy Western, and some like pretty cool stuff. I'm keen to learn more about his brand because it seems quite cool. This kind of Euro take on Western wear. Barbanera. I just dropped a link to it in the chat. Looks pretty cool.
Going back to that brand I was talking about, was AW Selvedge. So it's by a dude called Andre Williams. However, it looks like the stuff he's focusing on more is very much away from our area, and it kind of looks like it's tying in more to a lot of faster fashion, streetweary looks. So quite a lot of tight fits. Those kind of, you see the moto jeans with the weird, it almost looks like venting that they'll put on around the knees and stuff like that.
Oh, like G-Star kind of ergonomic
I mean,
stuff.
if it's what people are into, if people like it, then that's totally cool, and it's definitely a brand for them to check out if they want to try and support a smaller brand.
You could do like AWO for like without Selvedge. AW without.
Oh yeah, because I think it's because when I first saw it, when he first appeared, it was kind of the more standard, kind of tapered, raw denim fits that he was doing, and he's branched out and gone into stuff that is ultimately probably selling better for him, which makes sense.
Cool.
Any more questions?
About
that monster one.
Yes, we've got the monster one, which basically is from UKFD, my friend David. And the question is, are there any brands currently who will become future vintage or future classics, and be seen in that kind of way?
For better or for worse.
Of the current. What's that?
Just saying,
for better,
promote his brand.
Yeah, I'd say for better or for worse, I think RGT's supply jacket will probably become that. The fact that it was in Bond, the fact that it's kind of become like a staple for modern raw denim. I think it probably will be one that like sticks around, or people look back on and say, oh yeah, and a while back that was like a thing.
But has that already got there? Already, because that jacket's been around for a while, especially within the kind of the menswear scene. It is already seen as quite an iconic.
But like in 40 years' time.
Yeah, maybe.
Like 40 years' time.
People not seen, because you're gonna buy it secondhand because you're into rogue territory.
Yeah, true.
And know for it secondhand.
Yeah, will it become the Barber?
Yeah.
Of the future.
I don't want to. want to bring things down a bit, but for those things to be looked as iconic, wouldn't it make sense that the brand itself has to evolve to a point it carries on? Because we're talking about the owners of these brands are probably in their late 30s, 40s, even 50s. So another 40 or 50 years, they won't be around. So for those things to be around still, they'll probably have to, think of the brand first, foremost, to carry on the legacy of what you know what I mean. So like, the only thing I can tell is that in 40, 50 years, Levi's will still be relevant. Lee will still be relevant because they've been around for so long. And then like in 40 years, Levi's will be 200 years old. That's so 40 or 50 years or whatever.
Yeah, and I think
might be things like maybe some of the stuff from the Japan 5, the Osaka 5, or brands like Ironheart. But as great as Rogue Territory are, they are still, it's pretty much a husband and wife, where concerned. Whereas like, the Osaka 5, a lot of the Japanese brands are much bigger, even if they have a similar footprint within, the UK and Western Europe, which is kind of for us our wheelhouse.
But
so yeah,
couldn't you challenge that statement though and say that some of the Osaka 5 are already classics? Because like, if a classic car is 25 years, some of those brands have been around already for 25 years, right?
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, and they'll have cuts that are still around now that are still seen as like the cut to go to. But so I think like you might see it'll be things like the Ironheart UHF becomes something that down the line people fight over in mad vintage fairs like we've seen, in the last year or so.
That's an interesting one, because I never would have thought of that as, because to me, like the Ironheart UHF, it isn't anything special beyond the fact that it's just heavyweight, right?
But that could still be seen as like that, as a big selling point. It's that super thick, super warm flannel made purely out of cotton, and that because that's pretty much the selling thing for UHS anyway, isn't it? And it's a big enough kind of selling point that you can imagine it would continue down the line to be, when they become vintage pieces.
Yeah, but I just think they're too niche. Ironheart is a very niche brand.
Isn't everything in our scene niche?
Yeah, all these brands are.
Yeah. We are like super fucking.
Yeah, but I think like going like back to the question, it's the things that have kind of broken the mainstream will be the things that will last for years in another generation. Like, Levi's have lasted so long because they became mainstream in the 50s. They broke away from being a weird Californian thing that only some weird miners and some railroad workers wore, and became, an international brand by, becoming global. Same thing with Barber. It got picked up by other places because it became quite mainstream in the UK, not just something that some fishermen wore. So at the moment, quite a lot of our brands are just some things that some weirdos wear.
I think then it's going to be screwed. Then it's going to be in the future. It's going to be Polo Ralph Lauren jumpers with a teddy bear on it, half of a top from Shine, what's left of it, and
might get brands like Capital because they have that streetwear thing to them. I can see like brands like Yucatan because you've got singers and celebrities wearing.
But Yucatan are still super niche as well. You see celebrities. Ironheart's worn by fucking Elon Musk.
Yeah,
and like the dude from Converge. It's still worn by
people will know that.
But that's the same for Yucatan though, isn't it?
Well, a couple things to consider. So Yucatan's an interesting one in that their wholesale model means that they're in a lot of like more mainstream shops than say a Viberg or a Lofgren, even if the price points are in the similar ballpark, just because Yucatan like wholesales quite a lot. Same thing with their Manitoli brand and I forgot the other brand, Chamula. They like, you'll see them in like Yard Store, Oi Polloi.
Not anymore.
Oh yeah, sure, but like Hip Store. But one thing that does jump out of my mind is actually the Iron Ranger, because that
Yes.
is not actually heritage. I was interested to find out that that's actually a modern design inspired by various heritage photos, but ultimately, like, the Iron Ranger was invented like, I don't know, 2000, just to make up a number, not 1990, something like that. And you've got like celebrities left and right, like Bradley Cooper and stuff, wearing Iron Rangers all over the place. I think that will be one.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That's a good shout.
But then
Oh.
and that's only a brand already what it is, right?
You have to probably repeat that, Ricky. You broke
Yeah.
up.
Sorry, I was just saying that probably in the case of the Iron Rangers, that's only the case because Red Wing is already the brand that it is, right? So it's not necessarily a niche brand, like especially in the States. So it's already a heritage, consolidated brand.
Yeah, Red Wing are already there. Like,
Yeah. So I can't.
So to
put
reframe the
that-
question, which niche brand that we like do you think, or do you see becoming, bigger? Like someone like 316, you can see they've gone from being really small to actually becoming really big, really profitable, stocked across the world. Someone like that potentially. Is there
I
somebody
might.
else? Yeah.
I might actually challenge your question framing, right? And if you look at, like, if you go earlier back in this episode, right, we were talking about the wild ones, or we were talking about James Dean movies, we were talking about Clint Eastwood movies, whatever, right? And all of these garments are classic today because they were in a movie that made them so freaking cool. They became a classic. So if you want to look at like what's a classic now, or will be a classic from now, I'm not sure it's actually about brand specifics. I think it's actually more about movies where people are pulling off a particular look that's going to stick in someone's mind. And if that was the case, two things that come to mind. One would be what's his face's look in Drive.
Yeah, with the souvenir jacket.
Yeah, like Ryan Gosling's look, So like, arguably Ben from SOP Snake Oil Provisions has kind of wisened up to that. He's like, I'm going to sell those boots, his SOP Heartbreakers from Lucchese. I'm going to sell that souvenir jacket. And like, I wonder if like 30 years from now, like everyone's going to be dressing like Ryan Gosling in Drive because it became iconic in the same way that maybe like Marlon Brando and the Wild Ones did, right? Or
but then again, it doesn't carry your
No,
brand.
because it hasn't become a trend.
Yeah.
It's too niche.
It could later though, right? It could later. Like the classics now weren't trends when they came out as movies in the 50s, right?
At the time when those movies came out, everybody decided I'm going to start buying Levi's.
Yeah. There's always a brand that's associated to the garment.
Yeah.
And that's
No one's going out and buying souvenir jackets apart from us, people in our circles.
But I don't think.
Well, then the
people
future
go
classic
out
is going to be Lululemon.
Yeah, I don't think people go out now and really buy stuff that they saw people in films wear for the majority.
But
buy
Bond
I
whatever.
though.
disagree.
But yeah, you're talking about like the Rogue Territory jacket. It's in a film for what, 7 seconds?
Yeah.
No, but you
it's in
misunderstand though. You misunderstand
Most
though.
people aren't buying that. They're not buying the NPL, commando sweater and those stupid trousers that they made for it.
Well,
They're buying stuff from fucking Hollister. They're buying stuff from Next. They're buying stuff from Primark because they're not actually looking at, it's not the influence from films now. It's the influence from social media, from TikTok, and stuff like that. So Shine, shit like that, stuff that's going to last like 10 minutes. So the ability for something to become a true classic now as a mainstream classic is quite difficult.
Yeah, I think probably Birkenstock are probably like the most recent big brand.
Oh yeah, Boston's.
Off, bought for like $1 billion or so. And it's funny because you almost see brands like they'll have kind of a fair amount of like kind of popularity, and then they might dip, and then they might have like a little resurgence, and then they might dip again, and then they'll like hit it big. So if you look at kind of like Barber's fortunes like over the years as well, obviously popular
Arc'teryx.
and then they had like a little bit more like a little mainstream. The country guys wore them and stuff. They branched out, and they become unpopular again as like, and it's almost like a brand will get popular, but then the people wearing them, their kids will think they're uncool. But then when those kids grow up, they realize that actually, oh yeah, what my dad bought was pretty good. But, Birkenstock then has that resurgence again as the next generation kind of picks it up, and then it will probably become uncool again. So you might see Birkenstock like absolutely flop in like 5-10 years as people go, well, no, actually it's what my dad wore or my older brother, and now no one's buying them again.
Well, the big things going forward will be the skateboard brands then, right? Because like everyone's going fucking gangbusters current days around like Palace, Supreme, Huff, all of these kind of skatewear limited run brands. And so like that stuff plus like particular Nike Air Max, Nike Jordans, or like particular Yeezys. Well, not Yeezy anymore, but like these kind of like streetwear styles that like people do go gangbusters and queue up for. That alongside like Lululemon is going to be the future classic, because that is what everyone's like buying it in bulk. That's not just throwaway.
You have a good example of what Tom was referring to with Crocs, right? Like in the early 2000s, Crocs was a shit. Like everyone was. They sold a gazillion of them. Then then they disappeared. Like 10 years ago, no one was talking about Crocs, and then now they've come back. They slowly, gained a pace, and now it's an established brand in that sense. What I would do with Eli's question, I would split it and go like, what is a brand today that will have the same relevance in the future, right? That has that it's now picking up, or what is the garment that brand produces that will continue to the future? Because like I was saying, eventually the brand or the people who are in front that are head of the brand will they will pass away unless they sell which is logical. They will sell it to a higher company, to a bigger company, and that bigger company will look at their products and say, okay, oh, this sells. We're gonna keep these products, and then we're gonna revamp whatever it is, or just create other things to keep the brand going. And then the discussion will be, oh, I still have, let's imagine, a supply jacket from back in the day when supply jackets were, when Carl was still around. Sorry, I'm Philly. This is really dark all of a sudden. But do you know what I mean? Because that happens in pretty much any brand of any like boutique brand, and even with vintage stuff, right? Like with Levi's, everyone's looking for the big E's from back in the day. But Levi's is still around, and they produce garments, and they're still producing stuff, right? And even there's Selvedge stuff. So it's just that nostalgia feeling that's connected to the brand and wanting to have the thing that's old, that's going to be relevant or not. I look at that in the future by saying, if that brand will still be around, then for sure it's because whatever they created had some sort of cultural impact, regardless of it being on a movie, on a video clip, or on TikTok.
Yeah.
With that,
Oh.
so I was going to say, with that, then I reckon you'll also something that will become from kind of our era becomes a classic, and it follows in from, kind of. We've seen it, it's a bit cyclical because we've seen it in the past as well. That's a very good one, David. Break that would say. It'll be multicam. So in particular, multicam. So in particular, it will be things like the Cry Precision Gen 3 trouser, which is what you see especially in movies, and you see it's kind of what the Special Forces community wear, where they've got the integral knee pads, and it's that kind of military, because we ERDL and Tiger Stripe and all that kind of stuff has come back, and it's always kind of settled. That vintage camp militaria is always iconic, especially when it's linked to a conflict. And for kind of our period, it's the whole global war on terror, Afghanistan, Iraq, the operations in Syria and Libya and stuff like that. And so it's going to be the multicam stuff. So you're going to see dudes in in Street Fighter pattern camo. Going back
I
to
know it's not
Alex,
multicam, but
yeah, I reckon there'll be a point where it'll be people wanting to wear stuff like that, or the the U-backs, the Under Armour tops, where it's a plain coloured fabric across the body and then the camouflage sleeves, so it's wicking in the body. Stuff like that will become the kind of the cool vintage militaria that will be seen as like an iconic piece of clothing from our era, because unfortunately militaria is one of those things that is always kind of evokes strong memories and brings people in. It's always popular to wear.
the real answer is the future classic's going to be the red onesies that everyone in the movie WALL-E wore.
Oh, don't go there, man. It's
Yeah.
my favorite movie.
That is
That
the future.
scene is so sad.
I think kind of our generation's view is that we are in ultra consumerism.
Yeah.
So our little niche within a niche is a tiny part of a humongous market.
Yeah.
That churns out buttloads of stuff
Mhm.
in, I think it's like 16 or 20 seasons a year.
Mm,
I could
That-
see
that's our problem.
someone. Sorry to interrupt. I could see someone like Nigel Caborn
I was going to say
in the
no.
future.
Yeah.
I think because he has enough cultural impact across different fields, and something like his camera jacket, I think,
I was
could
about to say.
potentially.
Sure.
And because he's collaborated with a lot of these big end
Yeah,
brands as well.
stuff.
Yeah, so I would say someone like Nigel Caborn's camera jacket, I think that could be a future classic where people would go and dig for his stuff. Because I think his brand is already being invested by outsiders, and I think
It's pretty
his
global.
brand will carry on, when he's not around.
I'm skeptical of that because someone like Caborn, to me, is in the same bucket as like a Viberg or a Buzz Rickson's, where it's like those price points are so high that I just don't see how it could ever be made affordable enough.
Yeah, but it's this weird
The
like
designs are there.
streetwear thing as well.
Supreme is not affordable.
Eyes.
It used to be though. Before
Yeah,
Supreme
but it's
got
not.
hot, it used to be pretty cheap. I mean, like
it doesn't matter now anymore about affordability.
Yeah,
No.
but
Yeah.
Nigel
Big-
Caborn now has his cheaper line as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Ricky, we got to fix your audio for a future episode.
Need
You
to get
sound
you
like
a
you're in
mic.
a air
Not
tunnel.
again. My back? My back?
Yeah, I think when you take
Yeah.
one earpiece off, it creates more echo.
That's weird. I was just saying that he had his cheaper line now.
He has sub labels,
Libro.
but what you would see would happen
Libro.
is down the line when he passes over to whoever's going to take over, like his
Ed.
investors, to Ed. Yeah. They will make it more commercially viable. They will cheapen the brand. They will take his old designs, make the production cheaper, make the fabrics cheaper, and produce those same items where you would be able to buy it rather than at 500 quid, 150 quid. And that's, I think, the only way these kind of niche brands will grow into a bigger brand, as if an investor comes in, takes over, and then monopolizes on that product, makes it cheaper, so forth. And then people will kind of look back and say, Nigel Caborn, in the 2010s was the kind of the golden period of that time. His camera jacket, that was the one to get, and people will hunt for something like that when he's his brand is still releasing new stuff. I think something like that.
But
Yeah.
I don't think those niche brands at those price points will ever get enough visibility to even warrant such an investment, right? It's like,
It's
yeah,
already invested in. There's already
no,
big
no,
investments in it.
not investing to keep a business alive and to like keep you above water, but investment to mainstream something that's niche. Like I'm skeptical. Like if you look at like Inventory magazine, right? In their 12 issue run, they chronicled almost every great Americana style brand that was like still doing Americana at 2010, and almost all of them were so expensive that even now they're still niche and like haven't really become any more accessible than they were then. And the only ones that maybe have potentially become a little bit more accessible are your J. Crew, your Brooks Brothers, your and a couple other brands that were already affordable enough where you could like water it down a bit and make it accessible. But something like Kborn, a cameraman jacket was like 600 pounds 10 years ago.
Yeah, but that's
Now it's
what
probably like a
I
thousand.
mean.
Yeah.
But that's what I
it's-
mean. It will become. It's like barbell, yeah. It's been around for a long time. Now you can buy a lot. It's still a price point above what maybe your normal man going to the high street is going to be willing to spend. But it's got that that status as being this classic piece of outerwear.
But Barbour went from maybe let's say 300 pounds to 200 pounds, right? But a cameraman would go from like 1,000 pounds to like 700 pounds, which would still be out of reach of most people. I think I think there has to be a sufficiently low bar for this stuff to be accessible from the first place before it can become mainstream.
But that's what I mean. If
Like,
it eventually becomes cheaper. Sorry, Tom. Go on.
like brands like Canadian Goose, where their jackets are like fucking
Yeah.
£1,000 up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and most people don't know about them. I mean, they're not.
they're massive.
Everybody knows about Canada Goose.
Everyone in the
Hey.
UK does, but I'd argue back in America they're not that well known.
Yeah, I don't know. They're pretty big. I bet you show their logo to people and they'll be like, oh, yeah.
Mm.
I mean, an example I could see would be something like Arc'teryx Gore-Tex jackets, because even they're already so pervasive that no one ever pays more than like $300 for a good Arc'teryx Gore-Tex, because you're guaranteed to get it on sale. You're guaranteed to get it marked down in some silly color somewhere. And so already it's kind of like accessible enough where like, they become quite big in like hip hop videos. Like Drake, he's always wearing Gore-Tex now, and like it's kind of become a thing. But I think that's only because it was like already accessible enough. If he was dropping like $1,000 shot leather jackets, I don't think you would necessarily see the same thing.
Yeah, but you'd see people imitating it. So if it's not accessible,
Ultimately, though,
take it.
sorry.
Imitation, yeah, I can see that for sure.
And then
Knockoffs.
you build up the desirability of your brand by other people knocking it off. Because it's like, oh, that brand must be really good if other people are copying it.
I mean, Shine's entire business model is like the day something comes out, try and get it replicated and on store shelves as fast as humanly possible, like the next day if you can. Yeah.
Just gave me the shivers. Ultimately, though, these products only exist because there are morons like us who buy them. So, right?
True. Let's end
Well,
it. Yeah.
At the end of
I
the
mean,
day, right?
some of the modern classics have a more accessible audience than just geeks, right? So like to Ilya's example, a barber, that's been sufficiently popular for like the average countryman in the UK to like sustain their business. Or I don't know, Shot has made enough accessible jackets like pea coats and stuff where they can kind of keep their leather business jacket afloat. So I think any of these brands that have had staying power, they have had a certain amount of stuff that kept their bottom line going, so they can continue to invest in like the super high end pieces. Like Red Wing, right? They sell kind of like average Joe workwear boots, which enables them to invest in Red Wing heritage. I think they even mentioned that on one of the Stitch Down podcasts, that like they invest in heritage because they're selling a bajillion like standard work boots back home. And like LVC probably only exists because it's kind of fuck off money because they sell enough horrible Levi's to kind of make it feasible.
Not for much longer.
No.
No.
LVC's going away?
Last collection apparently.
Oh, really?
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
That should have been news.
And their best collection for like the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Huh.
This new collection though is a link to their brand.
We
Well,
can barely hear
more
you, dude.
heritage.
Yeah.
Shit.
Hey guys, can
No?
Just
Better.
about, mate. I think David mentioned it on our little chat.
I don't know what's
on
going
the
on now.
side. I think like
Oh.
you know, again, like it'll be other things that will probably become iconic down the line because they're iconic now, and it's because of what they're tied into, like the Patagonia gilet.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
the
it's
Tech Bro.
yeah, it's such like it's a city boy thing and it's a banker thing, and you know you see it in things like Succession and you know various shows like that, and it becomes like it's seen as it's an affordable but desirable item, you know, compared to maybe like a Moncler or some of the other brands.
The main reason the Patagonia thing happened is because they had a business where they would allow you to embroider your
Yes.
brand on the
I
other chest.
I have seen a number of embroidered Patagonia gilets in London.
And they've stopped that now because they realize how it went wrong.
Ah,
Yeah, they no longer will allow embroidered garments.
fair enough. I think the other thing that'll become seen as like that desirable, and it's within the same ilk, is like North Face jackets. I mean, they've already got a bit of a link because of their time. You know, people using them in Everest and stuff, but they've become a streetwear thing that you see all the time.
Well, back when I was in uni, the North Face Denali, which is that jacket that's got like some panels of nylon and some panels of like fluffy fleece, kind of like the Patagonia Retro X or whatever.
Yeah.
That was like the hot shit back in college. Like every college girl I went to school with had one. I think they maybe kind of fell out of fashion, but I assume there's enough of them floating around where they'll still kind of come back in the same way that like some of those retro, like Patagonia's Sninchilla, little snappy dude, and some of those things kind of have. Also like all the Lululemon like anti-ball crushing joggers and some of these kind of weird niche garments that are like super functional but don't
Really
look
hate
cool.
Lululemon, don't you?
It's the third or
No,
fourth
I actually
time
don't hate them. I
mentioned
just know how like they kind of are a scourge. Like any American city, any neighborhood you go to, like there's a Lululemon shop. They're everywhere back home.
They are appearing over here. They're pretty common over here as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, for us, I think the North Face shop is the expect. Oh, we have Sweaty Betty.
Yeah. Under Armour.
Yeah.
Athleisure. The answer is athleisure.
Yeah. Health goth.
Gorpcore.
Oh God.
That is our
The worst-
future.
The worst names. Have we got any more Quezzies? Or was that the last one?
I think that's the last one.
Because that one was pretty much its own fucking topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a whole episode.
Pretty much was then.
Is my sound back?
Yeah, you good.
I mean, it's never amazing, but it's usually
Fuck.
good enough. I think it's just because like your mic is picking up stuff bouncing off of walls or something. But
I think we need to invest. We all need to put some money together to get
Yeah.
Ricardo a fancy
Yeah.
mic set up.
if
Ricardo
only I had
needs-
like created a Patreon page for us or something 6 months ago. But
People aren't going to pay for that.
These are really nice headphones. I don't
Yeah,
know.
nice headphones, but there's no mic.
I think
We should
there's
get the, like,
supposed to be a good mic there.
Yeah, you need to have the mic that
Yeah.
goes either like that or have a mic like Tom has. Yeah.
The
For that,
Don't
it's,
cut-
Tom has a mic.
yeah, he didn't know.
it's the splash guard.
Who's this Michael? we're talking
Spittle
about?
guard, spittle shield.
But only for Patreon subscribers.
I guess should we wrap it up there for
I
today?
think so, sir. It is
I think
quarter
Tom's
to
mic.
It's 20 to midnight.
Yeah,
Tom's
so
mic
the-
definitely needs to be wrapped up.
Tom said Tom said approximately 45 minutes ago. He's like, I'm gonna have to come off soon. I've got stuff to do.
I gotta get ready for the bank holiday.
Yeah, about that, mate. Hey,
All
I'm
right,
working
well,
back. I'm working bank holiday Monday.
Maybe we'll wrap it up there. And on that note, please subscribe to us wherever you enjoy our content, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, or Stitcher, if anyone actually uses Stitcher. Check us out on Instagram at Sons of Selvedge Podcast. Give us a shout, give us a review, tell your friends, and also holler if you've got any questions and if you want to join our Discord server. On that note, thank you, everyone, and I will stop the recording.
I'm so sorry.
That's staying in.